One of the really puzzling things that I have found in the last few months, amongst a whole litany of very puzzling and mysterious and unfathomable things that have gone on, is the seeming fact that so many people who say or said they were or appeared to be vehemently anti-Boris Johnson, anti-Conservative government, primarily for the reason that they were associated with Brexit and then brought Brexit about, are also, by and large, the very same people who seem to be the most vehement defenders of that very same government's policy with regard to lockdowns, thereby endorsing the very political party and government that they profess to detest because of Brexit. I find this a real conundrum, a really, really interesting problem that I want to solve. And I think I've gone some way towards shedding some light on what's going on here. And there's two phenomena that maybe people aren't aware of. And I'm going to talk about that in this video. And I'm also going to talk about how the concept of Trump also ties together this same pattern that we see with Brexit and with lockdowns as well. So before I do go on here, go on to talk about in more depth. If you do like my content, please do subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any uploads, and please leave a comment. Give me a thumbs up as well and let me know what you think. So you probably have heard of divide and conquer, an age-old political tactic. Divide a population and thereby make them easy to control, make them fight with each other, expend their energy fighting each other, distract them, easier to rule over. Classic tactic. Happened through the ages in different countries around the world, and it certainly happened definitively and demonstrably since 2016. And what happened in 2016? Well, we had the vote for Brexit in the UK. We had the vote for Trump in the US. And as a society that was a Western society that was already in danger of disintegrating, began to disintegrate in both of those countries. Similar things are going on across Europe and countries like Canada and Australia as well. But it was the Trump phenomena, the Brexit phenomena, and now the coronavirus stroke lockdown phenomena that has divided people. And how has it divided people? That's what I want to try and explain. And I'm going to talk about two concepts. One, media. Two, fear. And the two are intertwined with each other. I think this is pretty easily to illustrate as well, that when it came to Trump, when it came to Brexit, when it comes to lockdowns, the mainstream media have adopted a position. And not only the mainstream media, the political establishment, largely, the financial institutions, in the case of Trump, the big business behind the Clinton campaign at the time. In the case of Brexit, the European Union itself behind the Remain cause. The media and all of those institutions around them adopted a anti-Trump rhetoric and position, an anti-Brexit rhetoric and position, and they have adopted an anti-freedom and pro-lockdown rhetoric and position. And I think it's pretty clear that that is the case. And I'll do some more content maybe to go into that. It's in some more depth to try and provide some evidence of that. But I think anybody with their eyes open and anybody who's being honest would struggle to paint the case that the Western media has tried to present the case that the Western media has tried to present Trump in a positive light. Nigh on impossible, I think, to make that case. Similarly with Brexit, particularly with regard to the BBC. And if you can control the narrative, you can control everything, which is why it was all the more astounding that in the face of that, that Brexit and Trump did happen. So why did so many people divide into two camps? And both camps had nearly equal number of people in them. And why is that the case now? Why things are so polarised? There appears to be very, very, very little centre ground on, well, any debate really, but particularly on those three debates. I think it's because of the sheer weight of the story and the precedent given to the media's own position on those phenomena. They were able, by sheer virtue of the propaganda associated with that, to ensure that they brought along millions of people onto their side. And I see, like I say, with lots of exceptions, and I know exceptions myself, that a lot of people who voted for Remain and who voted against Trump did it possibly because the media told them to. And I didn't say that at the time, and it can come across as an arrogant argument, this. But after what I've seen this year and how people's opinions have been formed, in fact have been implanted into their brains, and how their behaviour has been shaped by the media, I also now see that same pattern happened with the Brexit debate and with Trump. So that's the first thing, which then brings me on to, well, why is that? Why did people not? Why did people vote for Brexit? Why did people vote for Trump in the face of that? Because in the face of extreme propaganda, there were people in their millions as well who were able to ask crucial questions to determine the fate of their own country, who were willing to break away from the status quo, who were willing to take a risk. And that brings me on to my next point, which is fear, and how I see society is divided along lines to do with fear and risk profile. So we look at Brexit. How is that painted by the media? An act of national self-sabotage and probably a bit racist. That's how the media portrayed Brexit. How was Trump portrayed? Definitely racist, definitely sexist, a loudmouth who is going to be a threat to not only his own people but to the world. And how is coronavirus portrayed? As an existential threat to all of our existence, and as something that we needed to be prepared to sacrifice so many freedoms for, to defeat. What connects all those 3 points? Fear. Fear. In the case of Brexit, fear of independence, fear of tapping into a spirit of independence, fear of the unknown, fear of re-identifying as a nation which nations do, just as individuals can choose to do. Trump, fear of what? I think fear of truth and authenticity. And when I say truth, I don't mean he was speaking the truth. As I say on many occasions, there's no such thing. But he spoke his mind, which is something that as societies in the West now, we're suspicious of people. We don't like people who speak their mind, who are authentic, who are true to themselves. Say what you want about Trump. I truly believe he was. He spoke what he thought. He said what he believed in. And lockdowns. What are people scared with lockdowns? Scared with coronavirus, Scared of nature, essentially. Nature wants to kill us. Nature does want to kill us. That's why it throws diseases at us every now and again. This, in the grand scheme of things, across the whole pantheon of human existence, and particularly very recent existence, even the last couple of 100 years, was never an existential threat. But again, that fear permeated society and drew people towards it. People will let themselves be drawn towards the fear, but not everybody did. So, in essence, where's the dividing line in society now? There are many. But where, if we want to try and simplify something that's very, very complex, where is it? Okay, it's the individuals who can, in spite of aggressive, relentless media stories presenting the angle that they want to present, in spite of that, there are the people who will say, hold on a minute, and will challenge, will do their own research, will use their intuition, will challenge their own beliefs, and will come to their own conclusion, rather than parroting media lines. Trump's a racist. What has he said? He's just a racist. Brexit, that's racist. Why is that racist? It just is. It's just racist. Lockdowns, save lives, stay safe. You know what I'm talking about, the tropes, the cliches. So the people who believe the media hype will find it easier to buy into the media hype and have a handy cliche and a handy trope to throw out there. And the ones who realise that one of the most crucial things that we can do as citizens in the face of overt propaganda, regardless of what it is to challenge what they're saying. So they're the two groups there. And then the individuals within the group who are driven by fear, are controlled by fear, are oppressed by fear, and the ones who aren't. The ones who can accept a democratic outcome, as in the case of Brexit, accept it in an emotionally mature and intelligent way, and see the opportunities that it may bring. The ones who can accept that a personality of the kind that no US president has even come close to possessing, is now president of the US. Somebody who's going to, shout his mouth off. Somebody who's not going to play the political games, and someone who's completely different than anything they've ever seen before. Who can actually accept that? And who can't? And then the ones who can accept that, yes, nature will throw threats at us from time to time. Who are the ones that think that means that we should surrender all of our freedoms and do nothing to try and get them back? And who are the ones who understand that in times such as these, concepts such as freedom and choice and rights and privileges are absolutely paramount, and perspective must be applied, both from a historical and a societal sense. So the media and fear Who's being controlled by the media and who's being controlled by fear and who's not? So what camp do you fall into? I find it really, really, really interesting to see this correlation playing out. Obviously, there are exceptions. There are a lot of exceptions, but there seems to be this theme now where many individuals in society are completely at the behest of the media and the fear that they bring. And for the rest of us who aren't, it is the most depressing, frustrating, awful thing to watch. To try to extricate people, to try to open their minds, to try to guide them towards the light and away from the darkness that is enveloping us. So there you go. I'm not making the case for or against Brexit, Trump, or lockdowns here, although I certainly have my opinion on all three, and you probably know where I stand. I'm merely observing and trying to illustrate how those three phenomena symbolised the split that we now have in society along media and fear-based lines. So I hope you found that interesting. Please let me know what you think, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.